I got an early birthday present and I'm pretty excited, so I'm going to do an unboxing video. So first up, we got, in my opinion, one of the best anchors for kayak fishing. The Tightline K5 Anchor. Now these things are incredible. Super strong, super sturdy, and well built. So they flip open, and these things are fantastic. They are honestly overkill. But if you wanted a good anchor, they are incredible. They're well packaged right from the factory, so you know nothing's going to happen. Now, with that, you also want the breakaway line kit. And what that does is there's pre-drilled holes on the very bottom that runs to the bottom. Then you zip tie it to this clasp. So then this way, if you get stuck on a log or anything, that zip tie breaks, flips the anchor, and then pulls it out this way. But we'll get into that later in the video when we're installing it. Now also what we got is Anchor Wizard setup. Now if you're buying a K5 anchor, you want one of these Anchor Wizards. So how they work is they hold tight, you unspin, then it free spools out. Now you spool in a couple times until then once it's holding and it's latched on, now it can't pull out. So these are an awesome, easy setup for when you're on the kayak. You don't have the mess of rope, and you're not dealing with tangled up rope and everything inside the kayak. To go with that, you have this. So how this works is this sits up, mounts on your kayak, your anchor sits nice and secure. Now you go to let down your kayak, and boom. Then this drops down, and this stays on your kayak. When you suck your anchor back up, comes back in here, up, over. Don't have to worry about your anchor going anywhere, moving along the lake. So yeah, I'm very excited to get this installed. And last but not least, my wife won the prize for a Tightline Anchor shirt. So I think it's a limited edition shirt. They're not even for sale yet. So I can't wait to be rocking that out in the kayak. So thanks, Tightline Anchor. So whenever I'm doing any sort of install on my kayak, I always like to have all the gear in place. This way, just make sure moving forward throughout my build, I don't put something that's going to interfere with anything else. So I just put everything in my kayak that I have, minus my fishing rods, because they go in the holders right along beside my bump board. So I don't worry about them, but everything else I have in place to exactly how it'd be, just so then we can make sure nothing's going to interfere. So yeah, we're going to start. First of all, we're going to play around with some ideas of where it's going to go and where I want it. And first of all, flag's going to most likely have to go, unfortunately, but we'll figure it out as we go. So before we do anything, we got to figure out where we're going to put this. Because being that I have the rear rudder style, I want to make sure this isn't going to interfere with the rudder, but I do want it as close to the rear as possible. I can't have it out front because that's where my GoPro goes, and I want to be hooked on from the rear. So we're going to make sure that we can get to full steering with this back here, or some people do it off this side. A lot of guys, especially on the Piscators, like to do it over on this side, because then this way it nicely drops down. Myself, that's not really ideal for me, because I can then get hooked onto my oars. I could do that side, but I want to have it all mounted on my left for reeling it in and everything. I think I have an idea of where I want it. I think I'm going to do the reel on my secondary mount, which I'll show you guys shortly. So first things first is, I guess we're going to take that off and see if my first ideal placement is. So we're going to crank. Now, sometimes when you buy a used kayak, you forget there's certain things there. That hole was one of them I forgot about. So we might have to figure out something a little different yet. Because unfortunately, now it could go there. Well, that still might catch my oar. How far forward can we go with that? That will always sit down. So we could do something like this. Because without fully down, this can't catch. Still can have my flag mount, and then I'll allow that to come all the way down and all the way back. So still a choice, and still be able to keep my flag mount. Being that, I kind of have to keep it. So we're gonna screw that back down. That was a mistake. I'm gonna have to seal that when I get home, but fortunately I don't have any sealant with me right now. Really good anchor point, doesn't interfere with anything, and then we figure out the handle. In my mind, I was gonna have this right about there. Won't interfere with my steering. I put it on this side, it's going to interfere with my coffee and my bump board. So I think we're still going to stick with that side. So you want to make sure that this part falls all the way down and slides all the way up. And I'm going to put a hole in the kayak. Now, a lot of people pre-drill. I personally just screwed in. So you get a nice solid bite. If you got just a tiny bit, it does really help, so you don't have to push so hard. So now with only one in, let's see if this will still work. So, nothing that's not going to hit. That won't hit, and that won't hit. Boom, anchor drops down. Then our rope, it's going to have a few little eyelets just to run it along so it doesn't rub on stuff. Including, I'm going to have one there. So then it pulls this back up and into place. It's all part of the figuring out. So what I'm going to be using for wire guides is these little clips. These have a little U shape on it. So you can set them So I'm going to be using 3 of those. One there, one about there. And then one right then, so it's got a rounded part to run across instead of a tight part. So I think I'm going to start with that one. So that will at least guide my anchor into place. So, and we're going to do one about here. Now the reason I'm doing these is because when my tackle box isn't here, my son ride back here with me. So I don't want him to be able to get tangled in this.